I can still feel my daughter's little fingers slipping from my hand. She looked into my eyes and said, "Mommy, please don't let go of me." Those were the last words Emma ever said to me before the flood took my life away along with hers.
Mike,
This is the hardest story I've ever told in my life. But you need to know what really happened in Kerr County, Texas. On July 4th, 2025, you need to know so that other mothers won't have to go through what I went through. So that other families won't be destroyed like mine was. My name is Sarah. I'm 32 years old and I'm a mother of 2 daughters. Emma was 7 years old and Lily was 5. We lived in Hunt, Texas, in a small white house with blue shutters that my husband Mike painted when Emma started first grade. She always said our house looked like something from a fairy tale. "Mommy, we live in the prettiest house in all of Texas," she would say with that smile that lit up my entire world. Emma was a special child. You know those kids who seem to understand the world in a different way? That was Emma. Always taking care of her little sister, always helping me with everything. At just 7 years old, she would make her own bed, help Lily brush her teeth, and every night before bed, she would come to my room and ask, "Mommy, are you happy today?" It was like she knew that the family's happiness depended on Mom's happiness. On the morning of July 4th, she did exactly that. She was eating breakfast wearing her favorite red, white, net blue dress for Independence Day. Her blonde hair in the ponytails she always insisted on doing herself. And she asked me, "Mommy, are you happy today?" I answered without thinking much about it. "Of course I am, sweetheart. Mommy is always happy when she's with you girls." If I'd known that would be our last normal conversation, if I'd known that in 8 hours our lives would be turned completely upside down, I would have answered differently. I would have told her that she was the reason for my happiness, that she and Lily were my entire world, that there was no greater happiness than being their mother. But we never know when we're living the last normal moments of our lives, do we? That morning, everything seemed so ordinary, so routine. Mike had left early to help set up for the 4th of July barbecue at his brother's house. It was Independence Day, a holiday like any other, with that light drizzle that often came to the Texas Hill Country in summer. Emma was excited because she was going to wear her new dress to the community fireworks show. She had been planning her outfit for weeks. "Mommy, I want to look pretty for America's birthday," she told me at the door, giving me that smile that could melt any heart. "You always look beautiful, my angel. America is lucky to have you celebrating her birthday," I replied, kissing her forehead. I didn't know that light drizzle was just the beginning. I didn't know that the storm clouds gathering over the hills would change our destiny forever. I didn't know that my daughter would leave this world on the same day our country was celebrating freedom. Around 2 p.m., the rain started getting heavier. I was home with both girls since it was a holiday. They were watching cartoons in the living room while I prepared snacks for the evening barbecue. It was a normal holiday afternoon, just like hundreds of others we had lived through. At 3 p.m., I received a text in our neighborhood group chat. "Heavy rain here downtown. Anyone else seeing this?" Looked out the window and saw it was really pouring hard. The kind of heavy rain that makes noise on the metal roof and fills the gutters quickly. I decided we should head to Mike's brother's house early before the rain got worse. I got the girls in their rain jackets and we headed to the car. The drive to Jason's house normally took about 15 minutes through the winding roads of the hill country. But that day, with the heavy rain, the roads were already starting to turn into small rushing streams. When we got to Jason's house, Emma ran to me with excitement. "Mommy, Uncle Jason has sparklers for tonight, and he said I can help with the decorations." I hugged her tight, protecting her from the rain. "That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. Let's get inside quickly." The barbecue was going well despite the rain. All the family was there, Mike's parents, his brother Jason, and his wife Kelly. Their kids. Emma was having a blast playing with her cousins, and Lily was content following the older kids around. It was a typical 4th of July family gathering. Around 6 p.m., the rain got much more intense. Mike came over to me looking worried. "Sarah, the weather radio is saying we might need to think about staying here tonight. The roads are getting pretty bad." I looked outside and saw that he was right. The rain was now coming down in sheets, and I could hear the Guadalupe River rushing louder than I'd ever heard it before. That's when I made my first mistake. Instead of listening to Mike, instead of staying at Jason's house, which was on higher ground, I said, "Let's just make a quick run home to get the girls' overnight clothes. We'll be back in 20 minutes. How wrong I was. How that decision would cost my daughter her life. We got in the car around 6:30 p.m., just as the rain was reaching its peak intensity. Emma was in her car seat behind me. Lily was next to her. Roads that we had driven safely for years were now barely recognizable. Water was rushing across them everywhere. And several times Mike had to slow down because we couldn't see clearly. "Daddy, why is there so much water on the roads?" Emma asked, looking worried at the torrents flowing past us. "It's just rain, baby girl. They'll stop soon," Mike answered, trying to keep his voice calm. But I could see in his eyes that he was getting concerned too. When we were about 2 miles from our house, we heard a sound I'll never forget. It was like a freight train was coming straight toward us, but there were no train tracks in that area. Emma and Lily both got scared. "Mommy, what's that scary noise?" I stopped talking and listened, trying to understand where that terrifying sound was coming from. Suddenly, I saw a pickup truck ahead of us, flashing its lights and honking frantically. The driver was waving at us to turn around. That's when Mike looked in the rearview mirror and saw the most terrifying thing either of us had ever witnessed. A brown wall was rushing down the valley behind us like a monster. It wasn't just water. It was mud, entire trees, cars, mobile homes, boulders, house debris, everything being swept away at an impossible speed. "Oh my God, the river! Mike, drive!" I screamed desperately. Mike floored the gas pedal, but our little sedan was no match for the terrain and the flooding roads. "Can't go any faster. The car is hydroplaning," he shouted back. That's when I made my second mistake. The mistake that haunts me every single day of my life. Instead of turning around and heading back to higher ground, instead of abandoning the car and running up the hillside, I looked at our house, which was visible just half a mile ahead on a small rise, and said, "If we can just make it home, we'll be safe there." I didn't know that our house sat directly in the path that the flash flood would choose. I didn't know that our quiet neighborhood road would become a raging river. I didn't know that I was leading my family straight into a death trap. The wall of water hit us when we were about 300 yards from our driveway. The impact was like being hit by a giant hammer. Our car was picked up like a toy and started tumbling down the road. "Hold on, girls. Daddy's got us," Mike yelled, fighting to maintain control of the wheel. In that moment of pure terror, Emma did something that will echo in my soul until the day I die. Even as our car was being tossed around like a leaf in a hurricane, she reached forward and grabbed my hand tightly, and with her sweet little voice, she shouted, "Mommy, don't let go of me. Please don't let go of my hand." Her blue eyes were terrified, but she still trusted me. She believed that her mother could save her from anything. Even facing death, my daughter had complete faith in my unconditional love. "I will never let go of you, girls. Mommy promises." I shouted back, reaching back to hold both of their hands while Mike fought to get us to safety. The car was filling with muddy water, and I could hear Lily crying in terror. Our car was swept about 200 yards at a terrifying speed. We crashed into trees, boulders, pieces of other houses, everything the flood was carrying, but I never let go of my daughters' hands. Physical pain didn't matter. Only protecting them mattered. Only keeping my promise mattered. Mike managed to get us to a large oak tree that was still standing. "I'm going to try to get us out of the car and onto that tree," he shouted. For a few precious seconds, I thought we had made it, that we were going to survive this nightmare. But the pressure of the water was monstrous, supernatural. I could see the tree starting to lean, its roots giving way little by little. And that's when I saw the most terrifying thing of my life, a massive tree trunk, the size of a telephone pole, coming straight at us like a missile. I saw it approaching, and tried to shield my daughters with my own body. I was prepared to take the impact and die in their place if necessary. The trunk hit our car with brutal force. I felt terrible pain in my head and back. Everything went dark for several seconds. That felt like an eternity. When I regained consciousness, the pain was unbearable. But I immediately looked for my daughters. Lily was still strapped in her car seat, unconscious but breathing. But Emma's hand was slipping from mine. "Emma," I screamed with a voice that didn't seem to come from me. It was the scream of a mother losing her child. It was the most desperate sound a human being can make. She was about 10 feet away from me, fighting to keep her head above water. Her blonde hair plastered to her face, her eyes searching for mine in the middle of all that chaos. "Mommy, help me. I can't swim." It was the most desperate cry I've ever heard in my life. My daughter was dying and calling for me, and I couldn't reach her. I tried to swim to where she was, but the current was impossible to fight against. Lily was unconscious in my arms, and I knew that if I tried to save Emma, I would lose both of them. It was the cruelest decision any mother can be forced to make. The decision that consumes me to this day. Emma, try to grab onto something. Mommy will get help. I shouted, knowing that those might be the last words she would hear from me. Knowing that I was failing as a mother at the moment when she needed me most. She looked at me one last time, and even in the middle of all that terror, even knowing she was dying, my daughter tried to comfort me. With her sweet little voice, almost swallowed by the noise of the water, she shouted, "It's okay, Mommy. I love you. Take care of Lily." And then the current took her away. It took my butterfly girl, who that morning had been so excited to celebrate America's birthday. It took the child who took care of her little sister, who asked me every day if I was happy. It took the light of my life away from me. I watched her disappear among the debris, among the mud, among the dirty water that had swallowed our community. My daughter was being carried away by the same nature she loved to explore in our backyard. The cruelest irony that fate could create. Mike and I managed to reach a 2-story house that was still standing about 400 yards downstream. Other people had taken refuge there too. Lily was breathing but still unconscious. I was in complete shock, screaming Emma's name over and over like a madwoman. My daughter is in the water. Someone help me find my daughter. I screamed at everyone, but there was nothing anyone could do. The entire county was underwater. First responders couldn't get to anyone. There was no rescue possible in that moment of hell. Spent 10 hours in that house, holding Lily in my arms, staring out the window, waiting to see Emma appear. Waiting for some miracle to bring my little girl back to me. Praying to God, to the universe, to any force that could return my daughter. But the miracle never came. And when the sun rose the next day, illuminating the total destruction of our community, I knew in the depths of my mother's heart that my Emma had gone home. She had flown away like the butterflies she loved to chase in our yard. But she had flown to a place where I couldn't bring her back. What you're going to hear in the second part of this story will change how you see life. Because sometimes we have to lose everything to understand what really matters. And sometimes the greatest tragedy of our life becomes our greatest purpose. If your parents listening to this, please don't stop listening. Because what happened next might save your children's lives. It's been 8 days since that 4th of July in Kerr County. 8 days since I lost my Emma. And this is the first time I've been able to tell this story without completely breaking down. But you need to know what happened in the days that followed. Because the death of a child isn't just the moment of loss. Everything that comes after too. When the sun rose on July 5th, I was still in that stranger's house, holding Lily, who had finally woken up. She looked at me with those confused blue eyes and asked the question that shattered my heart. "Mommy, where's Emma? Why didn't she sleep with me last night? How do you explain to a 5-year-old that her sister is dead? How do you say that Mommy couldn't save her?" I looked at that innocent little face and lied. Emma went to help other people who needed her, sweetheart. But children feel everything. Lily knew something was terribly wrong. I left that house carrying Lily and began the most desperate search of my life. I walked through the devastated community, which looked like a war zone. Cars piled on top of each other, houses split in half, brown mud covering everything. And in the middle of all that destruction, I searched for my daughter. Have you seen this little girl? She's 7 years old, blonde hair, was wearing a red, white, and blue dress. Please, has anyone seen my daughter? I showed her photo on my phone to everyone I met. Firefighters, volunteers, other desperate mothers like me. Everyone shook their heads, with pity in their eyes. Mike found us on the second day, when he finally managed to get back into the county. He had been trying to return home since the moment he heard about the flood, but all roads were blocked. When he saw me, he broke down, completely. He didn't need me to say anything. He looked at Lily in my arms, looked at me, and understood that our family had been torn in half. "Where is she, Sarah? Where is our Emma?" he asked with a broken voice. "I don't know, Mike. The water took her." I tried to hold on, but the water was stronger than me. It was the first time I said those words out loud. It was the first time. I admitted that I had failed as a mother. We spent 3 days searching together. 3 days walking through the debris, shouting her name, showing photos to everyone. Mike slept just a few hours and went back to searching. I didn't sleep at all. I couldn't eat. I could only walk and search and pray. On the fourth day, a first responder approached us with that expression every parent learns to fear. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, we need you to come with us. We found a child who might be. He couldn't finish the sentence. I knew. Deep in my mother's heart, I knew it was her. We left Lily with a neighbor and went to identify our daughter's body. They found my Emma 2 miles from where the flood took her. She was in a wooded area, holding onto a doll that wasn't hers. Even in death, my little girl was taking care of someone else. Even at the end, she kept her generous heart that we loved so much. A mother's heart recognizes her child under any circumstances. It was her. My little Independence Day girl had come home, but not the way I dreamed about every night. In that moment, a part of me died along with her. The mother I was before the flood ceased to exist forever. What remained was a broken woman carrying guilt that seemed bigger than the entire world. Emma's funeral was 3 days ago. Seeing that little white casket with red, white, and blue flowers that Mike had chosen, seeing our family, our friends, her classmates from summer camp crying. But the worst was seeing Lily trying to understand why everyone was sad and why her sister was sleeping in a box. Mommy! Why won't Emma wake up? I brought her favorite teddy bear. Lily came close to the casket with that brown bear the two of them shared every night. It was at that moment that I completely collapsed. I collapsed in a way I didn't know was possible. Since the burial, I've been in a spiral of guilt and depression that feels like it's drowning me. These past few days, I've been unable to eat properly, unable to sleep, barely able to look at Lily because she reminds me that I failed to protect her sister. Every night I relive that moment. Emma's little hand slipping from mine. The impossible choice between trying to save her and protecting Lily. The last time I heard her voice calling my name. Every night I wake up screaming, sweating with my heart racing. Why couldn't I hold her? Why wasn't I stronger? Why didn't I look for help sooner? Why? These questions torture me every waking moment. Mike tries to console me. But how do you console a woman who blames herself for her own daughter's death? Lily, poor thing, doesn't understand why mommy cries all the time. Why mommy doesn't play with her anymore. Why the house has become so quiet and sad. Keith asking, Mommy, when is Emma coming back from helping people? And each question is a knife in my already destroyed heart. Last night, Lily had her first nightmare since the flood. She woke up screaming, the water is going to take mommy. The water is going to take everyone. It was terrifying to see my 5-year-old daughter reliving the trauma I caused. To see that my pain is already destroying the daughter I have left. This morning, Mike sat me down and said something that I know I need to hear, but I'm not ready for. Sarah, we need to get you help. Professional help. Lily needs her mother back. I can't lose both of you. He's right. I've become a ghost in my own home. I spend hours sitting in Emma's room smelling the little clothes that still hold the scent of a child. Or I stare out the window waiting to see her coming home from summer camp with that beautiful smile. I know I need help. I know I can't keep going like this. But how do you ask for help when you feel like you don't deserve to be helped? How do you move forward when part of your heart is buried with your child? The hardest part is that I keep thinking about all the what ifs. What if we had stayed at Jason's house? What if I had listened to Mike about the weather warnings? What if I had been stronger in the water? What if I had made different choices? But in the quiet moments, when Lily climbs into my lap and just holds me, I remember that I still have a daughter who needs me. A daughter who lost her sister and her mother all on the same day. A daughter who is trying to understand a world that suddenly became scary and unpredictable. Yesterday, something happened that gave me a tiny spark of hope. Lily brought me a drawing from her day camp. It was our family. Me, Mike, her, and Emma, with angel wings and a halo. The counselor at camp said that people who die become angels and watch over the people they love. Is Emma watching over us, Mommy? She asked me with those blue eyes that look so much like her sister's. For the first time since the flood, I felt something other than guilt and pain. Yes, baby. Emma is definitely watching over us. She's our guardian angel now. Does that mean she can see me being brave when I'm scared? Lily asked. Yes, sweetheart. And she's so proud of how brave you're being. It was the first real conversation I'd had with Lily since we lost Emma. And I realized that while I've been drowning in my grief, a 5-year-old has been trying to be brave all by herself. That night, I made a decision. I called the grief counselor that our pastor had recommended, I made an appointment for next week. Not because I think I deserve help, but because Lily deserves to have her mother back. I also started researching what happened to us. I learned that our area is called Flash Flood Alley because of how quickly these storms can turn deadly. I learned that many of the 120 people who died that night could have been saved. They had known simple safety rules. I learned that you should never try to drive through floodwater. That just 6 inches of moving water can knock down an adult. That 2 feet of water can sweep away a car. All things I wish I had known 8 days ago. As I've been reading these statistics, meeting other families who lost loved ones, started to feel something I didn't expect. A tiny spark of purpose beginning to form in my grief. Today, I'm going to attend my first support group meeting for parents who lost children in the flood. There are more of us than I realized. Way more than there should be. I met another mother, Jennifer, whose 8-year-old son was one of the children, who died at Camp Mystic. She told me something that's been echoing in my mind. We can't bring our babies back, but maybe we can prevent other families from going through this hell. She started working with emergency management officials to improve warning systems in our county. She told me that Kerr County had applied for early warning systems multiple times over the years, but the applications were denied due to bureaucratic reasons. Emma would want other children to be safe, Jennifer said to me. And she's right. Emma always worried about other kids. She would definitely want her death to mean something. I'm not ready yet. Still too broken, too angry, too guilt-ridden. But I think maybe someday I might be able to turn this pain into something that could save other children. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. Some moments I can barely breathe from the weight of losing her. Other moments I remember her laugh and feel grateful that I got to be her mom for 7 beautiful years. I want to tell you some things that I wish every parent knew. Things I learned too late. First, trust weather warnings. When they say flash flood, watch. Take it seriously. Flash floods kill more people in Texas than any other natural disaster. Second, never drive through floodwater. The phrase turn around, don't drown exists for a reason. Just 6 inches of moving water can knock you down. 2 feet can sweep away your car. Third, have an emergency plan with your family. Know where you'll go if you need to evacuate quickly. Don't wait until the last minute like we did. Fourth, if you're caught in a flood, get to the highest ground possible immediately. Don't try to save possessions. Don't try to drive home. Save first. Fifth, teach your children about water safety, including flood safety. They need to know that moving water is dangerous, even if it doesn't look deep. But most importantly, don't live in fear, but live prepared. Hug your children every day. Tell them you love them constantly, because life can change in an instant. I want to share something that Mike said to me yesterday that hit me like a lightning bolt. Sarah, Emma's last words weren't about being scared or angry. They were about love. She told you she loved you and to take care of Lily. Even in her final moment, she was thinking about love and family. He's right. Even facing death, my 7-year-old daughter was trying to comfort me and take care of her sister. That's the Emma I need to remember. That's the Emma I need to honor. I don't know what the future holds for our family. I don't know if we'll ever be truly happy again, but I know that Emma would want us to try. She would want Lily to grow up knowing how much her big sister loved her. She would want other families to be safe. Every night before I go to sleep, I talk to Emma. I tell her about my day, about how Lily is doing, about how Daddy is trying so hard to keep us together. And I imagine her telling me, "It's okay, Mommy. You did your best. I love you and I want you to be happy again." I'm sharing our story not because I'm ready to move on. I'm not sure I'll ever be ready for that. I'm sharing it because knowledge saves lives. Because other families need to know what we learned too late. If sharing Emma's story saves even one child, then maybe her death won't be completely meaningless. Maybe the little girl who always worried about others can continue protecting children even after she's gone. Tomorrow marks 9 days since we lost her. 9 days since our world ended. But it also marks the beginning of whatever comes next. For our family, whatever that is, we'll carry Emma with us every step of the way. To every parent listening to this, hold your babies tight tonight. Tell them you love them. And please, please learn from our tragedy. Be prepared. Be safe. Don't let what happened to Emma happen to your children. And Emma, wherever you are, Mommy loves you more than all the stars in the sky. Until we meet again, My beautiful angel.